It seems like every so often there are new so-called XRP alternatives, sometimes referred to as XRP killers, making the headlines for competing with XRP in cross-border payments between banks and financial institutions using CBDCs. And it seems like every time these new solutions come out, the XRP community panics and they need reassurances that XRP will still be relevant. Some people in the XRP community can't even face the news, so they dismiss it outright as FUD. Others have to find a way to try to connect XRP in some way to the new solution, so they can tell you, don't worry, it is XRP, or it will be using XRP. And when you ask them how exactly, they've managed to find like some indirect link 10 levels deep, connecting it to XRP indirectly through tons of different partnerships. Or they just make up some false connection that is outright wrong by saying it's XRP because the word bridge asset was mentioned, or it's XRP because the word interoperability was mentioned, and so on. So they do a lot of conflation. Now, the point I'm trying to make is, it is as if everything has to be XRP or link back to it, or else they can't process the news of an alternative solution even existing alongside XRP. So what can we make of these headlines? When people read these headlines and panic or become concerned or feel the need to try to connect XRP to every single solution out there, then it becomes absurd. Firstly, you just need to accept the reality that XRP is not the only solution in town trying to tackle cross-border payments with CBDCs. And I'm saying XRP here, but really it's the company behind XRP that's leveraging XRP, and that's Ripple. But I'm going to be interchangeably saying XRP for Ripple and so on in this video. Okay, just to make that clear. As I was saying, that XRP is not the only solution, okay, that's trying to tackle cross-border payments with CBDCs, nor is XRP linked to every single solution out there trying to solve the CBDC interoperability issue. Rather, XRP is a solution on the market, in an open, free market full of solutions trying to solve a problem. There is not going to be only one solution out there, just like there is not only one commercial bank, one payment processor, one web browser, one internet service provider, one online shopping website, one DLT system, or one company that only exists for each problem-solving solution out there. When there is a problem that needs solving, there are numerous companies out there trying to tackle the problem. And in an open free market, the customers decide, in this case, the central banks, what solution they want to use and which solution is best for them. And this same concept applies with XRP/Ripple and its competitors. There is nothing wrong that XRP/Ripple has competitors, nor are any of these competitors going to necessarily kill XRP just by the mere fact they exist. So a lot of these headlines referring to competitors being XRP killers is nothing but sensationalism. So let's look at some of these XRP alternative solutions in relation to CBDC interoperability. So what do we have? We have Finality, Quorum, Partior, Swift's CBDC interoperability solution, Project Icebreaker, Project mBridge, the XC platform. We have Settle and the Regulated Liability Network, RLN. And we also have Universal Digital Payments Network, UDPN. Now, this is not the entire list of XRP alternative solutions that exist out there. There's probably many more that's popping up all the time as solutions that I don't even know about. These are just some of the big ones out there that I've come across and we're going to look at in this video. So let's first look at Finality. Finality is a permissioned solution that uses a stable coin called Utility Settlement Coin, USC, to facilitate the settlement of cross-border payments between banks. So the finality method is taking the intermediary token method to facilitate cross-border payments between banks. However, their intermediary token is not XRP, it's a token called USC. Now, the USC is backed one-to-one by a cash held in a central bank account. And the USC operates on a permissioned blockchain, which means that access to the network is restricted to approved participants, and all transactions must be authorized by a central authority. This ensures that only authorized banks can participate in the network. So Finality is a private solution that's tackling to solve cross-border CBDC payments and interoperability, and they are using an intermediary token to do so called the Utility Settlement Token coin, and this coin is backed by cash reserves held in a central bank. Let's look at Quorum and Partior. Now, Quorum is an enterprise-grade DLT system forked from Ethereum, and Partior is a network built on the Quorum blockchain that allows financial institutions to issue, track, and trade digital assets, securitized assets, and other financial products. So Partior by JP Morgan is a shared ledger environment that allows multiple institutions to interact with each other using common standards on the same network. Partior aims to provide a more efficient and secure way for financial institutions to trade and settle digital assets, while also providing enhanced transparency, automation, and reduced settlement times. Now, neither Quorum or Partior has a native token, but institutions can build CBDCs on them. Their CBDC interoperability method is via atomic swaps orchestrated by smart contracts using pre-funded liquidity pools between the currency pairs. And that's how Partior is doing it. It's a shared ledger environment, so it's an environment that many banks can build on and use, and they can share the ledger, so they are all under the same common standards. It's like a payment network. It can do all the issuance of CBDCs, securitized assets, and digital assets, and so on. It can do all of that, and it can help with CBDC interoperability and via atomic swaps and settlement of currencies between banks cross-border, and that's Partior. And then we have the Swift's CBDC solution. Now, I have already done many videos explaining this solution, as people claimed it is the XRPL when it clearly isn't. The solution, just to recap, involves the use of an interoperability platform called the Transaction Manager. The Transaction Manager is responsible for facilitating CBDC interoperability by moving ISO 20022 messages between two different DLT systems. CBDCs used in payment are locked locally in escrow, and based on the ISO 20022 messages, the funds are released from the escrow and payment is made to the recipient. So no actual CBDC is moved between the two DLT systems, between the two different networks. Just the ISO 20022 messages are moved through the hub, the Transaction Manager, and it's instructing payments to be made, again using a pre-funded system. Then we have the XC platform. The XC is a solution proposed by the IMF for cross-border payments. It is a global centralized ledger solution for central banks, commercial banks, and payment providers that relies on smart contracts for automation and a foreign exchange market. So as you can see so far, a lot of methods are adopting the smart contract approach, atomic swap approach for their CBDC interoperability solution. The XE platform, instead of using CBDCs, it will use something called Certificate of Escrow, CE, that can only be exchanged for central bank reserves by banks. The XE platform will be able to move messages with the money, making it different from Swift. So Swift only moves messages. The XE platform will be able to move the message and settle and move the money as well alongside the message. So the XE concept proposes a centralized exchange including a centralized FX order book to all dealers where any quotes listed must be honored by participants. And this is how they do their FX transaction. So they have a centralized exchange, they have banks and dealers, and any quotes that's listed must be honored by participants on the platform. This is how they aim to reduce the foreign exchange spreads and also address the fragmentation of FX markets. And that's the solution for the XC platform. Then we have Project Enbridge. I've done a detailed video on Enbridge, so I do recommend you to watch that. But to summarize, Project Enbridge was developed by the BIS to be a multi-CBDC platform. The purpose of Enbridge is to be a multiple CBDC bridge for different countries to conduct peer-to-peer cross-border CBDC payments. 4 countries, central banks with 5 commercial banks from each country that are currently trialing out Enbridge as a pilot for cross-border CBDC interoperability solution are Hong Kong, China, UAE and Thailand, making a total of 24 participants. Enbridge enables CBDC interoperability by being an interoperability platform that allows for direct pairing of CBDCs via atomic swaps. And Enbridge is an example of a shared ledger platform similar to Partior, which is a shared ledger platform where banks can join the platform, connect to the platform, use the platform, and they have the same common standards. It doesn't have a native token. They use the atomic swap method for CBDC interoperability. This means liquidity for the CBDCs between the banks has to be pre-funded and onboarded onto the platform beforehand. Then we have Project Icebreaker. I've done a video explaining how Project Icebreaker model works. However, it is also very similar to the Swift Transaction Manager solution, whereby it uses the hub and spoke method. The hub connects to different domestic retail CBDC platforms or systems and is responsible for the movement of messages between all parties, which are the spokes. So the hub connects to the spokes and moves messages between them. Actual settlement occurs within the local domestic CBDC system without any CBDCs being sent across the actual hub. Watch the videos and you'd understand how it works. All of this is orchestrated based on the messages being sent back and forth between the spokes via the hub to facilitate cross-border domestic CBDC interoperability. Then we have Settle / the Regulated Liability Network. Now, Settle is a DLT system that is also permissioned and aims to provide a secure, efficient system for the settlement of financial assets and their tokenization. Settle is designed to integrate and be interoperable with traditional financial systems, which can use its DLT system to settle instantly. Settle aims to reduce settlement times, lower operational costs, and increase transparency for market participants, with the ultimate goal of improving the efficiency of the financial system as a whole. So Settle is proposing for the Regulated Liability Network to be built on top of its DLT system by showing that its system is able to scale to meet the transaction volume and throughput required for a practical regulated liability network. And they created a whole paper on it if you are interested to read it. As for the Regulated Liability Network, the RLN, it is not a specific technology or product, rather it is a concept that proposes a single network that is compliant with regulations and allows for legally binding digital assets to be issued and traded amongst financial institutions, where each token represents a promise of the liability of a regulated entity. So the Regulated Liability Network aims to provide a secure and compliant environment for financial institutions to basically conduct digital asset transactions. That's basically what they're trying to do with the Regulated Liability Network. It allows for the creation of digital assets that are legally binding and compliant with regulations, and it also provides for the ability to trade these assets with other financial institutions. And that's the concept of the Regulated Liability Network. And what Settle is trying to show that its DLT system is capable of scaling to handle the proposed concept of a regulated liability network to be built on Settle. Bear in mind that this RLN concept can potentially be built on any DLT system that is suited for it. And Settle is just trying to show that they are suited for it and that the regulated liability network can be built on their infrastructure. Then we have the Universal Digital Payments Network, the UDPN. Now, the Universal Digital Payment Network is a permissioned, decentralized network. And when something is permissioned, it means anyone can't just come along and use it. You have to get authorization from whoever controls access to it. But once you have gained access to it, it's decentralized because it's set up in a way where it's decentralized, but just to use the network, you need permission beforehand. So it is like an alternative to the SWIFT's CBDC cross-border interoperability solution. The UDPN is primarily a messaging platform and does not compete with currencies in circulation or issue tokens, just like SWIFT. The primary objective of the UDPN is to provide a messaging layer for global cross-border payments of CBDCs and regulated stablecoins by providing an interoperability platform for the various CBDC systems out there. The UDPN structure has been built to link businesses, IT systems with centralized and decentralized currency systems, using Hyperledger Besu as the permissioned network framework. So it should be clear, hopefully now, that not every CBDC interoperability solution is using XRP, nor is it true that the only way for CBDCs to be interoperable with each other is via an agnostic bridge asset like XRP. XRP is a solution for CBDC interoperability out of a variety of solutions on the market, but it is not the only solution nor the only game in town, as many in the XRP community mistakenly believe or imply. How many times have we seen people calculate the price of XRP based on it being the only solution in town to process and settle all the money in the world? Let's ignore the fact that it is technically impossible for the XRPL to even handle that amount of value, all the money in the world. However, that fact is ignored alongside all the other various solutions that exists as competitors, and they calculate an astronomical value for XRP in the hundreds of thousands based on fantasy theories that it's the only solution out there and it's going to process everything. We need to be realistic. What indication have you seen exactly that tells you all these other viable options and solutions for CBDC interoperability will not ever be used at all and will gain no traction at all by financial institutions except XRP? You tell me. The reality is, if any of these other solutions were to gain traction, not needing XRP or using XRP for CBDC cross-border payments, then it would be value not passing through XRP as a bridge asset. At the end of the day, a bridge asset is a solution for CBDC cross-border payments and interoperability, but not the only solution in town after all. And within the concept of using a bridge asset, XRP is not the only solution in town, as we have Finality, and that's another solution that uses their own bridge asset, and it isn't the XRP, they use the USC token. So within the method of intermediary tokens, there is competition, and outside of that method, we have competition whereby atomic swaps are being used, interoperability platforms are being used, API gateways are being used. So at the end of the day, a bridge asset is a solution for CBDC cross-border payments and interoperability, but not the only solution in town after all. And we need to stop pretending like it is and take the other solutions into consideration when observing and analyzing how the whole CBDC cross-border interoperability landscape is evolving and developing. We need to also observe what financial institutions are working toward and are showing interest in adopting for CBDC cross-border payments. Because if the only way CBDCs can be interoperable is by XRP as a bridge asset, then every other solution providing CBDC interoperability that isn't using XRP or a bridge asset would be a failure by default. Is that not so? But that clearly isn't the case at all, is it? The next thing people will argue and say, but they are using pre-funded mechanisms and not ODL. But that's a topic for another video. But before I round off this video, I would just like to say this isn't FUD. Don't be an ignoramus wanting to bury your head in the sand and ignore everything you don't like as FUD because you feel it threatens your investment. Be men or adults and confident in your investment whilst facing the reality of the market. Now, XRP as a CBDC cross-border payment solution does have benefits, such as being a decentralized, neutral bridge liquidity asset. However, the market will ultimately decide what they want to use and why. Ripple will have to fight for market share amongst the various other solutions for central banks out there. And we have hundreds of central banks. We have the same amount of central banks, if not more, than the amount of countries there are in existence. And I think there are about 195 countries, if I'm not mistaken. And we probably have 195 central banks. Then we have countries who are not considered as countries, and they probably have central banks in their regions as well. So amongst all these central banks, Ripple's going to have to fight for market share alongside all these other various solutions that are probably trying to take these central banks as well to adopt their solution, their system for CBDC interoperability. So I personally don't buy into this notion that all central banks have already chosen to use XRP. I just don't believe it. If that was the case, then the BIS would not be wasting their time, would they, with projects like Project Enbridge, would they? Why would you waste your time building Project Enbridge if it's already been chosen that Ripple is the only solution that's going to be used? And XRP, ODL. Why would you waste your time with Project Enbridge? Why would you waste your time the BIS Innovation Hub with Project Icebreaker? Why would Swift waste their time with the Swift Transaction Manager? I mean, I can keep going on. Why would Finality waste their time with their product if the only solution that's going to be used is Ripple? Anyways, with that being said, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell notification icon so as to not miss my next video.